she and her boyfriend drugged me. They, I don't know if they put it in my, if they put something in my drinks, because up to this day I asked her what did they do to me. She told me to go and pray about it. But she laced my marijuana or laced it and gave to me to smoke it.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Sharika. I am your host, Sharika Swaby, life coach, author, speaker, and the host of the show. Today, I have this beautiful Kadian Snow with us. She is a self-published author. She has published 4 books: Black Woman is Queen, Pamper Up, F Him and Keep It Moving, The Silent P, and what was the title of the other one? I don't have it here. The other one I think is entitled I Told My Mom I Was Raped.
What I wish I told my mom I was raped and silent.
Right. What I told my mom I was raped and silenced. So today, Kadian has been kind enough and brave enough to agree to share her story with us and to show other people that they can come back from whatever struggles they are going through as well. So, Kadian, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us today. I truly, truly appreciate having you here with us. Truly appreciate having you in our presence. Would you mind going ahead and telling us a little bit about yourself without diving into the story just yet?
Sure. So, my name is Kadian Snow. I'm actually a self-published Jamaican author. I'm living in Brooklyn, New York. And I started this journey in 2020, June 2020, I started this journey of writing books. And it was because of an experience I encountered while in Jamaica. It it propelled me into that journey, and I started it with just pen and paper, the old-fashioned way. And that was just something I've wanted to do. And I decided that, hey, this is a dream that I'm going to go after. And with God's help, I was going to pursue it. And so that's what I did.
Awesome, awesome. And today you have 4 books out there. I have a copy of Black Woman is Queen somewhere being shipped to me. So I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to having that. And I know that you also have some missions in terms of the Silent Sea, which we'll talk a little bit about so people can understand what that book is about. But I want to know, what I want to share with people is when they pick up your book, I want them to see the person behind the story, the person who wrote the story, and to maybe able to relate to you and to your stories even more. So, Black Woman is Queen, is that the first book you wrote?
No, the first book I wrote is called F Him and Keep It Moving. For censored purposes, the F Him.
Right.
So, and that was the first one. It's a journal of my life after divorce. I spoke about what I experienced and just little gems here and there for persons to understand about what is not just divorce, but after a breakup, you can read a book for yourself to help you get through it.
Okay.
And that's the first one. Then the second one I wrote is Black Woman is Queen, Pamper Up. And that's about self-love and self-care. I went a totally different direction from the first one. And it was during the pandemic, so I was doing a lot of self-care myself. I was taking care of my skin, and I was doing a lot of taking care of my toes and my fingers and just everything. And then I wanted to tie it in with the whole physical and spiritual well-being. So I was more closely connected to the spiritual aspect of my life where I was connected to God. So I was writing on that too. And then the third book I wrote is called The Silent P. And I wrote it because what I experienced after I got divorced, I was experiencing period poverty where I was wondering where I was going to get money from to pay for my own sanitary napkins, and I wasn't working at the time, so I was like, what am I gonna rely on? So I decided that I was gonna write a book about it and share that experience. Then the silent P, I spoke about period poverty in it because of the fact that it's happening all over the world, in Jamaica, in India, in America, in different countries all over the world. It's happening. Period poverty, as you understand, I would explain it to you, is about not being able to afford the basic amenities, because I think here a pad is an amenity,
It is.
and you can't, if you can't afford to pay for it. So I decided I'm gonna write about it and to share with people. And because I didn't grow up seeing a book about pure poverty, thank you, Dre. I I wanted to write one about it. So that's that's it. And then my fourth book, which is called What I Wish I Told My Mom I Was Raped and Silenced, is a personal experience because when I was younger, I went through that experience where I was molested. So I wrote about those. Those are my four books.
Amazing. And I mean, you did all of that in 2 years, less than
Yep,
two
in
years.
less than 2 months, I did three books, and then I did the fourth one last year. I think it was May or June, I believe.
Wow, that's amazing. Less than 4 months, you wrote 3 books. Oh my God.
Yeah,
And you got them
I'm getting
published
started,
in short in.
and I got them published. I was determined to get them done because where I was working at the time here in Manhattan,
Mhm.
there was and it's there. I was working at the Department of Health, mental health and hygiene, and it was a place where you get the birth certificates and the death certificates. And I saw so many persons coming in for death certificates of people. So it was like, this is a way I opened an experience. I was like, if this COVID is so strong and so powerful, it's, who knows if it might take me out. I was like, my ass is gonna get taken off. I was gonna write that book before my ass get taken out. I have to leave a legacy behind before I go.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But you're here, and chances of COVID taking you out now is slimmer than it was before. But I'm glad you wrote those books because now other people can read them and be empowered by them. So
Yes.
that's truly amazing. And I think, and I like what you said. You said you had to get them done before you were taken out.
Yes.
Because a lot of us are dying with our dreams and our visions and our passions and our ideas, and nothing
And
becomes
not letting on nothing. We're not putting
exactly.
nothing to pen and paper.
I love
If
that.
there's
I love that.
We have to put things to pen and paper and put things into perspective from early, because when you die, nobody would know. If I had died before I did all this, when COVID came out in March, because I don't forget I was at work, and um when it came out, I was like, what am I gonna? What the hell is this thing? Like, and then then they say it's a pandemic, so it's all over the world, and I was like, what does that mean? It's like it's not gonna go away. So it was a little bit nerving on it was a little bit shocking for me,
Hmm.
but I said I'm gonna pull through and do it.
Amazing. I love that. All right. So when we spoke, you were sharing some of your experiences with me and some of the challenges that those experiences brought on you and what you're some of the things that you're currently dealing with. And I felt like your story is so touching, and I felt like maybe somewhere out there someone could resonate with some of what you experienced and realize that, see, you've published 4 books. That's for some people they can't even begin to fathom the idea, right? But despite
Yeah.
all that you've been through, you still managed to get it done. They're out there, people can see them. So I figured that we could share your story and maybe it will help somebody else. So let's start with um, being raped. What was happening in that environment that led to that?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't grow up with both my parents. I didn't grow up with my biological parents, so to speak. I grew up with my extended family.
Mhm.
My mom had me at age 14, and I think because she was so young, she wasn't prepared for having a kid. She didn't know. She just had me around Gilbert time, and a lot of Gilbert babies was born around that time. And she decided that the best thing for her to do was to kind of let the rest of my my dad's father's family raise me. And so I was being raised by my great grandaunt. And I think I don't forget there was time period where she left me. She usually would come and visit her family here in New York, and she had left me a summer. It was for me to spend the summer there, and I didn't know she would have actually even stayed that long in the US because she spent, I think, 6 months at the time. But she left me with my grandmother's sister, which I found out later when I got older because I didn't even know it was her sister. I found it out afterwards. And she left me with her, and she trusted her, and she was married. She had a husband, and she had a one child. And while I was living with them, he started, molesting me, and it led to him raping me. And I didn't know what was going on because I was young, I was naive, I didn't know. As a child, when you're being molested, you're not thinking that um, this is what it is. You're just thinking that something is off, something,
Right.
because in my mind, I knew that it didn't feel right because I was like, I'm this somebody who it doesn't feel okay. But he was the only one that was doing that to me at the time. So I was like, why is he doing that and other people not doing it? So it was just a different experience, and that was the first time I got molested. But then it happened again when when my great grandaunt she came back to Jamaica. She, um, she had invited over one of our cousins from in the country. I can't forget, I can't call his name, but he started doing things to me, and this is why I think I find it very hard to really say that if I have kids, I would trust them around male family members because they preyed upon me, and I, I didn't tell anybody in my family about this stuff until I got older. So when I was younger, I used to just keep all these stuff inside of me, and I just kept it there. I didn't say anything. I just thought that, hey, why are they? I felt like they were picking on me, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't tell anybody to tell me anything because the first time that happened to me when I was raped by my my grandmother's sister's husband, he had threatened me and told me that if I told anybody, he would have killed me.
Wow.
So I didn't want to get killed. So I was like, I have to keep my mouth shut. I have goals. And because I was a Christian, I grew up in a Christian household. My great grandaunt was a Christian. I decided that I was gonna keep it quiet because I didn't want anybody to know.
Right.
I didn't want to die.
So, how did that affect you after those experiences?
Um, it didn't really affect me when I was a kid that much because I thought that I thought that I just found it weird why they did that to me.
Mhm.
But as I got older, I started to have trust issues in men, and I had trust issues a lot in my own family because I felt like this is my family and they're doing this stuff to me. How can I trust them? So I felt a little bit, had trust issues. I had a lot, just trust issues from early. Like I felt like I couldn't trust people.
Yeah, I can only imagine what that must have been like. At what point did you realize that this was not okay? I mean, you sensed it from it was happening, but at what
Yeah.
point did you actually say, okay, this was actually wrong and it should not have happened?
Well, as I said, I started getting older. I knew that something was off about it, and the things that he was exposing me to, for instance. when we're there in the house, he would act a certain way and tell me not to really say anything, and he never did that around his when my aunt was there. She never did that around people. He only did it
In front of
hidden
you, yeah.
in secret. So I felt like this was something that wasn't right
Mhm.
for one because he's not doing it around others. He's not doing. I don't know if he was doing it to. I found out later that he was doing it to other people. So I I wasn't sharing it with anybody, so I wouldn't know that was something that was happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have made a difference had you shared it at that point?
Yeah, I think so. My mom, when I told my mom, as I got when I got over as an adult, and I told my mom, she said to me, had she had known, she would have come after him and chop him up because he shouldn't have been doing that to me. And my mom had, she had some sense that she said to me that she felt bad because these are people that she trusted me around to grow me up, to raise me. And I think because, as I said, my mom was young, it was just, I was, it was just kind of, I think maybe they felt like because my mom gave me up, she didn't want to take on the responsibility. But as I said, she was a young girl. She didn't know anything about raising a child.
Right.
She was
Right.
still an adolescent. She just turned 14, so she
And
wouldn't
that's
have known any better.
that's understandable. That's
Yeah.
understandable. I mean, you're telling us this now. I had a guest not last week but the week before, and
Mhm.
the first time she was molested, she was 3.
She was 3.
She was 3, and then it happened again. I think when she was either 8 or 9. She was not Jamaican. This was an American lady, but for her it resulted in her rebelling
Hmm.
and being out of control and stuff like that. Did it have any of that kind of effect on you?
No, I was the opposite. I was excelling in school. I did a lot of different things. I became more shy and introverted. And mind you, I was being teased growing up because of the fact that I was most of those only one from out of my family. Most of my family was in St. Elizabeth, but the ones who I was raised with, most of the extended family, they lived in Kingston,
Right.
and so they used to tease me a lot about coming from the country.
Mhm.
I used to feel bad about it because I was like, what's so wrong with me coming
The
from the country?
country.
Like
Yeah.
growing up, and then you see people play these psychological tricks on you as like when you're young. So it is like it made me had I wouldn't say I had low self-esteem, but I felt ashamed about where I was coming from.
Right.
As I got older, I realized, hey, but most of the business people that I know and I've met so far,
Came
they're
from
from country.
yeah. So it was just
They come to
ridiculous.
Kingston and build up Kingston, and yeah, I've met a lot of business people that I've met from out in the country area. Even my old boss, she's from the country. She was from the same parish that I came from. So it just they just played these psychological tricks on me when I was younger about coming from there and how I'm this and that. But for me, as I said, molestation made me very, very guarded, and I had trust issues with people in my own family. I couldn't trust. I didn't trust myself being around men in my family because I was like, am I gonna be this one going to be doing the same thing to me again?
Right. Right.
I couldn't trust it.
And
And as I said, because the man had threatened me to kill me, I was like, I don't want to die. So,
right. In you are from Jamaica. You've lived here. Um,
hmm
in your opinion, because I know this still happens, right? I've heard stories about it from different people. I've heard stories about it from teachers. Um, Even I was speaking to someone the other day, and he was telling me how a student was being molested by his stepfather, right? how can we, and this is currently happening, so
Oh,
how can we, in your opinion, as someone who has gone through this kind of experience, do you think there's any way that we can make it okay for youngsters who would have been in your position at the time or who is in a similar position now? Do you think there is any way that we can bring a certain amount of light, shed a certain amount of light on the situation, make it okay for people to talk about? Just like I want to make it okay for people to talk about mental health, because
yeah,
when you say mental health, people think when they say you're sick in the head, they think you're eating out of a
mad.
drum, right? But so that's something that we need to talk more about so that people can understand that this is actually something that can happen to anybody, and you don't have to be living on the street in order to kind of fit in the category. So how do we, in your opinion, as someone who has experienced it, how do we start a conversation where the intention is to
Help
get people
people.
to realize that if this is happening to you, you need to speak up. You can speak up.
Well, that's one of the things I wrote about in my book. I wrote about some of the signs and signs in terms of being molested.
Mhm.
You can tell you like for instance, I was watching this video thing on Instagram actually,
Mhm.
and it was about a young lady that was being she she was being molested by her family member. It's happening now in Jamaica, but as you said, it's still happening.
Mhm.
And she was living with her grandmother, and the grandmother took notice because she had discharge on her underwear, and the grandmother was saying, "What is this? What is this?" And the discharge looked different. So, and I can remember when I was younger, I used to have, discharge too, and I was like, "What is this?" But I kept those things to myself. I didn't know. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't
Right.
tell anybody this is funny or whatever.
Mhm.
I just dealt with it on my own. And I would say look for the signs, like such as ask the child, if you see them around somebody and them acting funny, you say, did anything happen to you? You should go outright if you have a daughter or a son, because it happens to boys too.
Right.
I think it's happening only to girls who are being molested, but
Something.
boys I realize are being molested as well.
Mhm.
And boys are a little bit more afraid to talk about it and
Because of the stigma,
turn off.
right?
Yeah. So the girls for the girls, you speak to them about it, you ask them, and you should tell them these conversations you should have with your children from early. Just like us right about the silent P with the period, the same thing you should talk to your girls about. You tell them, hey, nobody should really be touching me here. Like I talk to my sisters about it, I ask them, do you guys have anybody that's doing this to you or doing that to you? And they tell me no, and at least I'm hoping that they tell me the truth because I don't want them to later on say to me, oh, this was what was happening,
Mhm.
and I couldn't have said anything.
Anything else? Yeah.
But oftentimes they're afraid to speak up because they might feel like they're gonna get hurt or you're gonna be punished. Because I used to feel that way too. I used to feel like I'm gonna be punished.
Mhm.
So you as a parent need to ask them questions. Pay attention to them if them get too quiet or if you send them go over so and so and all of a sudden them stop acting like them want to go over there because I never used to want to go around my extended family after a while because I felt like I
Yeah.
used to avoid going there because I didn't want anybody to touch me anymore or do anything to me.
Mhm.
And I think that was what stopped it. And I also think that they need to have like a helpline. You, here in America, they have so many things in place. Like they have this thing called NYC Wells. You can call them, or you can call them and you tell them anything if you want. Or you have 311 up here in America. You call 311, it's just like 911. Anything you want, ask them. Rental stuff, this, that. Anything you want to ask them, they will find information for you
Mhm.
and go and connect you with such persons. So
Right.
they need to have something like that in Jamaica where if you're being molested, it's like a silent helping line, like a helpline that you call,
You feel
and they can
safe.
just connect you. Yeah, like a safety line, safe line. They call it. You connect to the right person.
Yeah. As I said, unfortunately, it's still happening. So it's something that we need to talk about more. And I'm hoping to get this video into mainstream. I'm hoping to get all my videos into the mainstream. But this is something that we need to talk about. And
Yes, I can't hear you.
yeah, I know. I live close to the street, and the bikes are horrible. So so I have to mute it so that it doesn't come off too bad. What was the in order for you to be here talking about it and not being too emotionally distraught, you have had to gone through some kind of healing process. So what was that process for you?
So currently in my life, what I used to do before I, becoming an adult, I used to turn to God. I used to read the Word of God so much. I read my Bible for everything. I used to read it to help me get through downtime, and I used it as a tool to help me heal. And I would say that I got over it. I got over the molestation aspect. I forgave the person, and I wouldn't say it took a toll on my life. I think I was a happy person after a while. I was never somebody who was like a sad person growing up. I used to be very jovial and stuff and laugh about things. So I got over it and I immersed myself into my book. So I used to love reading. That was something I enjoyed doing, just reading books.
Mhm.
I didn't get I didn't get too submersed in feeling down on myself about what happened to me. I didn't victimize myself, so to
Right,
speak.
right, right.
I tried to empower myself. Like, I knew that that shouldn't have happened to me. And so I decided that, hey, I'm not going to allow this to happen to me again.
Mhm.
And I did certain things. I decided that I wasn't going to have sex too early. I didn't want to have a baby too early. There's certain things that I don't know if it's because of what happened to me, why I was like very cautious about getting pregnant young and having a baby. I just didn't do it.
Right.
But, I know in my adult life I do therapy. So I go for general therapy, like counseling and so forth, to help me deal with it.
Right. Amazing. I'm glad you were able to put that behind you. Not many people are able to do that, so that's a victory in itself. But
Hmm.
I know that when we spoke, you talked about something that happened to you with some of your friends, and
Yeah.
this was shocking. This even sorry about that. Even with even being raped, it's because it's something you probably would have heard that happened to somebody. But what
Yeah.
you shared with me, that was that blew my mind. So, would you mind sharing that experience in terms of what your friends did to
Did to
you?
me. I don't mind.
Sure,
So,
please go ahead.
so one of the things that kind of pushed me to even started writing my book about my and share my story was back in 2016, September 2016. I don't forget the date, September 25th, 2016. Um, I was about to get married and I was about to migrate and come to the US. And I had a best friend. She was actually my maid of honor in my wedding. And yeah, she invited me out to a party. No, mind you, she had invited me out to a beach party before that, a beach outing, and I had declined because I didn't like the whole setting of what they were planning on doing was doing an overnighter.
Mhm.
And I decided that I wasn't gonna do it. So she said, "Hey, I guess let me carry you out to something else," because she was planning up all these stuff for me to do prior to me leaving.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm not too. I was working at the time, so I didn't have all this time to be doing these activities. And
Right.
so when I actually sent in my resignation letter, after sending my resignation letter, she invited me out to. I think it was Footloose at the time that was in that mass scam.
Mhm.
If you know about Footloose, so I went to that party with her.
Right.
It was me and her boyfriend, and it was, should have been another friend of mine from high school. She was also a part of my bridesmaids committee group,
Mhm.
and all four of us were supposed to go out together. The fact of the matter is, not all four of us went out. It was just me, her, and her boyfriend that was there at the time
Mhm.
at the party, and she and her boyfriend drugged me. They, I don't know if they put it in my, if they put something in my drinks, because up to this day I asked her what did they do to me. She told me to go and pray about it, but she laced my marijuana or laced it and gave to me to smoke it, and I started having a lot of problems mentally since that night that happened to me. But even though that happened to me, I came up here and I started to. I went through a. I went through so much stuff since that night happened. I still got married, but my marriage failed because of the, the changes that was how it was changed, how it started affecting my mental state. So I decided that hey, I'm gonna share my story, and I decided to write my first book, F him and keep it. So this is a copy of my book right here.
Right.
Mhm. So I wrote about it in my first book, F him and keep it moving, to kind of share about my experience about being drugged, and I'm currently doing a book club reading at my house, and I'm sharing reading it back. It kind of brings back these memories about what happened to me, because when that happened to me tonight, I remember I was telling her, I said to her, I'm gonna not call her name. I'm gonna say something else. I'm gonna say like, "Hey, Elisa, you need to carry me to the hospital. I think something is wrong with me." And she looked at me that night and told me that if I can afford to pay for it to go to the hospital. And I said, I don't know if I can afford to pay for it. She's like, well, just drink some water. She carried me to this stall and she gave me water to drink. And she, instead of carrying me to the hospital to go and see what was wrong with me or what they had given to me, I think they knew what they gave to me. Instead of carrying me to the hospital, she didn't do nothing. She drove me back to her house. I spent the night there, but ever since that night, I haven't been myself. I haven't been myself mentally. And this is what, although they've been legalizing marijuana here in America, particularly New York just got legalized last year. And I must say that you have to be aware and cognizant of the dangers of smoking. Because I knew about the dangers of smoking in Jamaica, but I didn't know that my friend would have done that to me. That was the only thing I didn't really take into account. That hey, I need to be cautious because she might drug me or something. I didn't think about that. I don't know why she did it to me, but she did it nonetheless.
Did you ever find out what she put in it?
No, she never told me. I asked her when I looked at it, when I texted her and asked her, I said, hey, Alicia, what did you put in my thing? And she said, I must go and pray about it. I asked her, what did she put in there? What did they do to me? And she told me to go and pray about it. So I was like, this is just very sad.
I'm still trying to figure out what was her intention. Is it that you and her, because you guys are best friends, didn't you get along? What was she trying to accomplish?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. What were you trying to accomplish by doing that to me? But as I said, a lot of my grandmother says she thinks that she was jealous of my mom because I was about to get married and about to migrate. She wanted to mess me up, but in fact, it did mess me up. So she accomplished something. It did, in fact, mess up my mental state, but it didn't kill me. And I thought that, at least I'm not dead. Because when the night I was there in the backseat of her car, I started praying and saying, God, whatever they have planned for me. Because I was like, I don't know if they're going to kill me. I don't know what they're planning to do to me.
Right,
I
right.
was like, God just saved me. I need to not die. I need to see my mom. I need to get married. That's what I was praying about.
Well, I don't know, but your marriage didn't last. So
No,
how did your husband deal with this? Was he
not
able to?
he didn't deal with it well. He said that it's my fault that I went out with my friends, with my best friend, and trusted them. But he said a lot of things that was very hurtful at the time. I don't think he took it very seriously. Like, I don't think he understood the damage or the impact that it had on me. He saw how it changed me, but he didn't want to deal with that change of how it affected me because mentally I'm not in a in best state of mind. It
Right.
had sent me into a deep depression because I started having I started having suicidal ideation and he knew about it. And so I guess he didn't want to deal with somebody who was depressed, who had these thoughts, and who was dealing with cognitive deficits as a result of being drugged.
I know initially you probably would not have known what was wrong, so testing to see what was going on was not an option.
No, it wasn't an option because at the time, even when I went back to go and get tested to see what was going on with me, it was already up my the whatever they gave me
Was
was
already
already up my
fucked up.
system
Yeah, you would have needed to have gone to the hospital that night in order for
that
them.
night for them to know what they gave me. Yep,
Right, and then they would not have taken you because they were at fault.
yep, and that's the reason why my friend who is a cop told me that had they tipped me, they would have been arrested for what they drugged me with.
Yeah, so they would not have taken you. It's really sad to think that somebody who you consider to be your best
The
friend.
best friend, mind you, I told you she was my maid of honor. She wasn't somebody who I just said, let me pick her off the street and here and I'm gonna smoke with her. I knew just casually. She was my maid of honor, so I must have had some level of trust in, and this is why I tell you I have trust issues because not only was I molested by my own family, but no, to see
Your best
that
friend.
my best friend drugged me and her boyfriend. I I just couldn't fathom, and it made me wonder: is it something out from to get me or something? I started to wonder if it's a devil out to get me or something.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would see why you would think that. It looks that way. It would certainly
Mhm.
look that way. I can only imagine what must have been going through your mind. I know that you had to deal with suicidal thoughts. What were some
Yeah.
of the other struggles that you have to deal with even today on a daily basis?
Well, I do struggle from suicidal ideation because of the drugation, but I struggle from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's made me have a lot of flashbacks. And sometimes I have these dreams and nightmares about what happened to me, and it's not a good feeling because I've had thoughts about I've had very bad suicidal ideation. It's that bad that I've actually tried to do it twice, no, three times, and I ended up in the hospital for the three times. Well, not for the three times, actually for two times. I ended up in the hospital because I was like, why is it that God would allow these people to hurt me?
Mhm.
My family members hurt me when I was younger. Um, no, it's a friend that hurt me. So I was a little bit taken aback by everything, and I just didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a situation for you.
Yep.
So you had a, you that led to you having getting divorced. And
Yeah.
where is your ex-husband now?
Well, he's still living in Maryland. I found out that he's with some other girl, so he
Oh,
was cheating on me.
oh, he was.
That
Wow.
was a totally other story.
Mm.
Mhm.
I mean, so I have this belief, right?
Mhm.
And my belief is that the people who have to overcome the hardest battles are some of the most powerful people. And I've expressed this to you as well that I believe
Yeah.
that your mission is so much greater than the pain that you've been through, and I mean, not many people would have gone through some of the things that you've gone through and still be here.
That's true.
And even if they
Because
are
I thought
here,
that night when they drugged me, I thought I was gonna die because I remember when I was about to walk, I almost walked out into the road. Everything was pitch black. I was like, what the hell did they put in that thing and give to me to smoke? I said, no, 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 Lord, please keep me. I started praying. I told you I started praying in the backseat of her car because I got so scared. I thought, hey, this was the end of it for me.
mhm. Hey, Ariel, and even and for those people who made it through stuff like this, they're in the hospital in a mental institute or something.
Mhm.
But you are here. I mean, you are amazing, if you ask me. But you are here, and you've written 4 books.
Yeah. So even not to say that I didn't end up in a psychiatric ward, because when I came here to New York, I actually went in and I started doing, like when I started doing therapy, and I went in and to be honest, I learned so much. Being in a mental institution, you might think it's just this horrible place and they're tying you up and they're locking you down. It's not like that. They have you in there doing artwork and doing dance and art therapy. But I did talk therapy and I spoke to persons who I met. I think 2 other persons that they did the same thing to them. Me and a friend, they did it to him, Lloyd, and they did it to this girl. I think they drugged her. Her friends drugged her too. So we have to be mindful of these things. We have to be mindful of not drinking from people,
Mhm.
eating from people. Just be mindful because you have your and I tell this to my siblings because I share my story with them and things I go through I tell them because I don't want them to fall in the same trap and
Right,
to fall
right.
victim to the same thing. And in order to break like these generational curses and these generational situations, you have to share your story. And so I share my story with them. Hopefully when they get older they will read my books.
Yeah.
Because I wrote about them in my books too, especially my children's book, The Silent P. I wrote
Right.
about, I dedicated my book to them.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. And as I said, only God knows what is in store for you, but I think it's something amazing, and I hope we are still connected when that finally happens, so I can
Yes.
celebrate with you. But I think there's something amazing in store for you because you've made it through so much, and
Mhm.
I'm grateful that you're here sharing with us that somebody else can know that they can make it too.
Mhm.
Amazing.
But it's been a constant battle though because there are days I still do have the moments I feel like maybe I should give up, and I feel like maybe I shouldn't keep on going. I came to the realization that I wanted to give up this summer, and I didn't. And I've been, as I said, I've been doing therapy. So each time I do the therapy, sometimes I get an epiphany. But what made me realize that I shouldn't give up, I met a young lady and she was telling me about how she had thoughts about jumping in front of the train. And she was a black girl. And I don't really see our color, you know what I
Right.
mean? I
Yeah.
don't really see color talking about mental health that much. So
Right.
I said that, hey, I'm not gonna be ashamed about talking about my mental health situation with people or talking about my suicidal thoughts or attempts with people, plus the situation that happened to me and what led me to this. I'm not gonna be ashamed about it. So that's why.
And I am grateful for that because now other people can see you were able to talk with her. Who knows who else might come across this video and know, find out, understand that it's not the end. There is more
Mhm.
life. And every single day you have to get up and struggle with this
And
and
fight.
overcome that and fight to stay alive.
Mhm.
And some of us are here, and this is for the people who are just here, just here. Some of us are
Mhm.
fighting to stay alive, and some of us are just here. So we have to figure out what our purpose is, and living to that purpose, and don't waste our lives, right?
And don't waste it away, because if I had died during this pandemic, at least I would have had this stuff written down to
Yeah.
help people.
Mhm.
So I would say get up on you off the butts. If you like, so far I've helped at least three other people to write a book since I've written my book.
That's
And
amazing.
if you want to write a book, you should ask a question. That's how I got into writing mine. I asked my friend Andre and Tiffany Ben to help me, and that's how I got to get it done. And I did that while I'm sick, and I did that while I still struggle with suicidal ideation, and I did that while I'm basically been through all I've been through. So though I'm not in the best of states where I'd like to be, the mere fact is I still got it done despite that. So imagine if I was feeling better. Although, to be honest, if I was feeling better, I would not be writing any books. I'd probably be pregnant with 3 kids.
Listen, only God knows why we go through the things that we go through. But she said she should have had 3 kids and a husband and playing in the
Yeah,
garden, and I mean, all kinds of things could have been happening. But as I said, only God knows why we go through the things we go through, and He knows our path and where we're going. And I mean, He knows our purpose, why we're here. We forgot, but He still knows. And so life will turn us in the direction to ensure that we live out the life that we were meant to live. And that's why I always say the experiences that we go through, if we're able to rise from those, because it's the not rising part which prevents us from moving on, which keep us stuck. But if we're able to rise from those things, just like you are doing every day, then we can live into our potential and do the things that we're supposed to be doing. So
that's
I want to ask you about the silent P now.
mhm.
You gave us a synopsis about what it was earlier, but give us a little bit more information and tell us also about, I believe you want to start a charity around this to help other people.
Well, I wanted to the silent P. This is it.
Put it up a little, yeah. Right.
So this is a silent P, and I wrote it in. I wrote it. This is the third book I published, and I wrote it because, as I said, I experienced pure poverty. I couldn't afford to pay for. I was like, where am I gonna get money from to pay for sanitary napkins? Nobody supported me because it's not like my husband was giving me money to support me. So I was, and my family didn't have the money to give me any. I was like, how am I gonna be able to give you stuff?
Mhm.
And the period poverty came up because of that. Because I was like, I was experiencing a period poverty myself, and
Hmm.
I started writing because I said that I didn't grow up having a book about teaching girls about the period. I did. I learned about my period through my family member. Oh, I thought that you hear thunder?
Sorry.
No, I guess you didn't hear it.
Oh.
I thought I heard thunder.
Oh, no, 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 I didn't hear anything. So, I share a story with you. When I was a teenager, I think I did most of the things late. So my maturity came at a later time than a lot of the other young girls that I grew up around. And I remember in those days, it was kind of a taboo to talk about your period.
Yeah. Yep.
Nobody talked about it. You never heard about it. You go to the shop and you buy the sanitary napkin, but that's about it. And when you go, you buy it with a little bit of shame, you know.
Mhm.
It's crazy, but it's the truth. So when I first had my period, I didn't talk to my mom about it, right? And not immediately. And when I finally did, She's a much more smarter woman today. So, but when I finally did, she used a curse word at me, and she was like, "You are this and that idiot. You don't know what that is," or something to that effect, right? I don't know where her mind was, honestly, but she was probably under a lot of stress because she was growing all of us without father and stuff. But I didn't have any sanitary napkins either. I didn't have pad, and I was going to
Oh,
school, and I was going to school because initially I didn't say anything to her because of the taboo around it. At least in my house, I was the only girl at the time because my sisters are younger than me, and no one would have gone through this. We never had a conversation about it. We never talked about it at school. It was not talked about anywhere, and
wow.
for whatever reason, and I hope that this change is going is that this is changing. Female sexuality is not something that it's looked on with a shameful eye, right? So me
Mm-hmm.
being the reserved and shy child I never said anything. So even if my mom could have bought me pad, I didn't say anything, so I didn't get any. What I did was I wrapped a cotton underwear and stayed inside of my underwear, and that was my pad until I finally told my mother. So, I mean, you wanting to make it, and this is probably happening still, who knows? I don't know. But I know that female sexuality is not something that we talk about, and we should
No.
talk about it.
Well, that's pretty surprising. I never thought about wrapping up the cotton. I used tissue. I remember I
I
used
used that
tissue.
too. I had this, but I used that too. But at the time, I had a cotton underwear and I wrapped it, folded it, made it fold up like a little ball, like, which is very, very, very uncomfortable, by the way. And I placed it in the underwear, and that was my pad. But I did do the, I have done the sissy one too. It's interesting, interesting, but it is what it is, and it probably still goes on. Who knows?
It's probably still, I think it's still going on because of the fact that I see persons like Yendi Phillips and um let me see who else I met this one of my high school friends. I see her talking about period poverty in Jamaica, which, as I said, writing this book, I found it so surprising because, mind you, I'm writing about my experience after I got divorced and couldn't afford to pay for sanitary napkins. And I was like, now I'm seeing the entire country of Jamaica most people talking about period poverty. So it's still going on. It's not something that's eradicated. It's still happening. It's going on. There are persons that cannot afford to really pay for sanitary napkins on a monthly basis.
Which is sad
And
because
yeah, which is sad.
the dogs, my neighbor's dogs are going crazy. It seems like it's a disturbance evening. But I think it was in something that you were reading that really got my attention. I think, I'm not sure if it was you. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it said that condoms are given away everywhere,
Really, yes,
really
yes,
everywhere,
it's
and
me. It's
and
me.
so that's male sexuality. So it's okay for
Mhm.
males. Males
It's
must be
okay for
provided.
the men to be protected and get condoms, but we as women, we don't get no condoms for one, and we don't get the free sanitary napkins. However, I did an interview with Stillborn Sybil, and that was in 2020, I believe, or 2021, and we had talked about the period poverty in my third book, and there was a country that actually started doing free sanitary napkins. So I'm so happy. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it was a little
You're
great thing
making
for
an
us
impact.
and making an impact there. Yes.
That's awesome, and who knows, maybe we can get it widespread, but it is
Yes.
something to be talked about. It is something to be talked about.
They
Luckily,
should have the, they should have sanitary napkins in schools so that when you can't afford to pay for one, it's readily available for you. Because the only way we females can fix a lot of issues in this world because we have we have experience running a household. We go through all these things. We raise women are raising girls and boys. So we have a lot of ways, insights on how to fix a lot of issues in the world. I believe that we do have that. So, for instance, me noticing that now, I'm talking about it, and I want to see it change. And for the mere fact, I don't know if it's because I wrote about it and put it out in the universe, because they tell you the things that you want, you put it out in the universe, and you see it happening. I think it's in Denmark, that country is where they have free Santa napkins. You
Yeah.
can look it up or research it. I'm not sure. I'm not too
I agree. I agree. It should be. It's a necessity. It's a
Yes, it is.
necessity, and once you become a maturing woman, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. So I agree. It should. As I said, if I wish it would have, if it was something that was accessible for me as a child growing up, as a teenager, and having my period, and not hearing it talked about, it was bizarre. My experience was bizarre, but um, we can definitely have conversations around those things so that it's no longer a taboo for one. Not just period poverty, but female sexuality on a whole
Mm-hmm.
should be talked about.
Talked about.
It
Yep, I
should
agree.
it should be because I mean a lot of girls aren't confident and they don't own themselves because especially in Jamaica being sexy is not okay. Especially if you're a church girl, it's not okay to be sexy. So when somebody dresses sexy, they're seen as vulgar. And I don't know. I don't think that is okay. But that, as I said, female sexuality, there are things that we can talk about. Because it's okay for a boy to look really nice and hot. Am I lying?
Yes, yes, yes.
But a girl, it's not supposed to be. And I know, I understand some of the things, some of what is behind all of that in terms of safety for women and
Yeah.
being a target and so on. But then at the same time, you don't have
That doesn't stop anything.
there.
Because you could be dressed in long dress and going to the ground and you still get molested or raped.
There you go. So I mean, we should talk about these issues, but what impact? I know you already started making an impact, but if you were to say you want to make an impact on the world, what would that be?
Well, ideally, I would like my books to be all over the world, in all these Barnes and Nobles, because it's only on their website, but I would like for it to be in the stores.
Mhm.
So one of the impacts I'd like to see happening is I would like to see it, particularly as I said, I wrote about a charity being formed about pure poverty charity.
Mhm.
That I would love to see happen, so that you can have organizations that supply schools and so forth are different places. It doesn't have to be a school. It could be a charity, and they can supply them with sanitary napkins. So that's one of the things I love to see happening in the world for them to be able to provide this amenities to women. Um, Another impact I would like to see is a helpline in not just Jamaica but the Caribbean on a whole, where they actually have a safe line. Like I said, here in New York, they have 311. You call 311, 311 tells you if you want anything that you want to find out, they try and provide that information to you. If you want a dentist, a anything at all,
Mhm.
they can provide that information to you. That's another thing that I'd love to see happening. And particularly in Jamaica, I'd love to see more homeless, no, more homes for women who are in domestic disputes or in it's like where they can come there and find a safe haven if they're in a domestic situation, and young girls who can it's just to help them to get back on their feet. I'd love to see them have more shelters in Jamaica because they don't have much of that. Um, Growing up, I don't even know if I think there's only one shelter I knew about in Jamaica, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I know they have a few now, but I imagine we could do it somewhere. So that's see, I tell you, your mission is greater than that's a lot of things that you want
To see
to
happening.
to see done, and who knows how you can affect that change or affect that change. But as you said, had you had a different experience, your trajectory would not be along this path.
Nope, it wouldn't have been. I told you I would have had 3 kids.
So, I mean, while there's nothing wrong with having 3 kids, at the same time, on this side of the world, you are already making an impact. You're already helping to change lives. And I do believe that you should, whenever, I know you go through something, so whenever things come up, just flip it all the time. All the
Yep,
time.
and I do think that once you go through an experience, try and share your experience with the world because that's how you help others. As I said, I never even knew when I first did my first interview and I was sharing the first 3 books that I wrote, and then this young lady came to me. Her name is Julian. I don't remember her last name, but Julian is her first name. And she said that she has always wanted to write a book, and so when she came to me, I was like, sure. She was my friend too. I was like, sure, I'll help you out. And so me and my friend Andre guided her about how to write it.
Mhm.
So anything that you want to get done, you can get it done in this world. It's just that you need the right support and you need to be determined to get it done.
Agreed. Agreed. What are some of what are some of the things that you do, some of the practices that you do on a daily basis to ensure that you don't go to the side of the world that we're not ready for you to be on as yet?
Well, I've been doing therapy, as I said to you, because as I said, I do suffer from, because of the drugation, I suffer from suicidal ideation.
Mhm.
So I do talk a lot to my family, and I do the therapy, and I try and communicate with people who, and if I ever have a thought about suicide, I have, they call it a safety plan. So you can talk to persons about who, I have friends that I talk to, like my friend Andre. I speak to him, my friend Terry, and I speak to a few people who would help me to kind of not fall into that headspace and try
Right.
and keep my head above water, so to speak.
Mhm. Mhm. And it's good that you have that kind of supportive community as well.
Yeah.
That's really great. All right. Do you have anything that you want to leave with whomever is watching this now or someone who's gonna see it later? Do you have anything that you want to say? And Andre, thank you for keeping. I know you were on here. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you for helping to keep Kadian alive with and here with the rest of us.
Thank you so much, Andre. Yes, he has listened to me all the time talking about, oh, I want to give up, and he's like, no, you have a purpose, and I'm like, what is that purpose? How
I
do you know
agree.
the purpose?
I agree. You have a purpose. You definitely have a purpose, and I 100% believe that. As I said, I believe, and this is my belief, those of us who have gone through some of the most harmful things have the biggest purpose. So
Mhm.
your purpose is so much bigger than you, and I 100% believe that, and obviously Andre believes that too.
Yes, he does.
So,
He's there still. Hi, Andre.
hi, Andre. All right. So, do you have anything that you want to say to people before we hop off?
Well, there's a few things. For one, just be mindful of who you trust to have in your life. I wrote about that in my Black Woman is Queen book. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote about the fact that the Bible tells you about being wary of the friends that you keep. And I wrote about Popcorn, the artist Popcorn, because he's one of my favorite artists. I
Okay.
wrote about it in my book too, because there's a song that he sang, and he's talking about trusting your friends and who you trust as friends. What should you tell when you're bad more? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah, I know it.
So I wrote about that because I was like, yeah, this is very, very true because I
Mm-hmm.
went through that experience. That experience now catapulted me into writing these books. And then I started to learn something new, a new area, mental health. And as much as I studied psychology in school, I never had any mental health issues first prior to that experience where I got drugged.
Right.
And I spoke about my mental health struggles, my depression, my major depression, And in my PTSD, I speak about these two things in my first book, F him and Keep It Moving. Not just my divorce and that side to it. I spoke about um getting back up on your feet and trying to push through everything despite being what happened to me. I spoke about that too in my first book. No, my second book, Black Woman is Queen, Pamper Up, I have to speak on that a little bit. That's about self-love and self-care because despite what happened to me, I would say I always had a high self-esteem. And that's something that we need to kind of impart on our children, helping to build their self-esteem because at the end of the day, once you I don't know if it's out of jealousy what my friend did to me, why she did
I
what
think
she
it
did,
was.
but the mere fact is maybe if she had more love in her life, she wouldn't have done what she did to me. In her household where she could realize that hey, things are happening for her, things could be happening for me too. Or
Yeah.
she had a boyfriend, so you never know, he might just say, let me propose to you too. So we need to kind of teach our kids about not being envious, jealous of others, learn to be appreciative of what you have. And then the last thing now, in terms of the silent P, my book, The Silent P, the gems that I want to share about is I would love for my books to be in all the schools, particularly from when, because you can start having a period when you're 9. I had mine when I was about 9 or 10, I believe. And I would love to see my books in schools, in those early childhood schools where they kind of teach them from early about the period. So that's some of the things that I'd love to see. And I'd love to see my books in all the Barnes and Nobles. It's, as I said, it's only on the website, but
It's progress. And I believe you'll get there. Just keep the vision and keep moving forward. Oh my God. Hello, everyone. We're at the end of today's show. And I had the lovely Kadian Snow with us today, who is fighting every single day to just stay alive, just to stay alive. She has to get up every morning and decide that today I am going to remain alive. When most of us wake up in the morning, that is not even on our minds. We don't even remember to say thank you for waking me up this morning. But here's someone who has to be praying to, because we wake up and we go about our business and it's automatic. We don't think about it, right? But some people have to think about it and say, okay, today I will remain alive. Today I'm going to make this decision that I don't want to cut out. Today I want to be here. And even with that, she still managed to publish 4 books. She still managed to overcome her struggles on a daily basis. This show was created to highlight people like Kadian and to show others that you don't have to stay at the bottom. Wherever you are, whatever you've been through, you are alive, so your time is not over. And you get to choose what happens in the next moment and the moment after that. It's a choice. No matter what it looks like, no matter what other people are saying, no matter what you're going through, you get to choose in the next moment, this moment and the next, what you do next, what happens in your life, what you accomplish, what you do not accomplish. It's all up to you, right? So if you are seeing this and you are at any low place, just remember one thing. It's a choice. And it can be a hard choice. It may be a hard choice. Most of the choices that matter are difficult, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. So get off your ass and do something with your life.
Yeah.
Do something with your life.
While I'm sick.
Exactly. She's doing all of this while fighting to stay alive. So if you are new to this, if you're new to me, if it's the first time you're seeing me, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your support. Please do follow me here. I have a conversation like this or something. It's always something to edify the people that are watching, and sometimes it even edifies me. So if you're here with us for the first time, please do follow me and pick up a copy of my book. It's called An Introduction to Freedom. This is an introduction to living your best life, to walking with God, and not walking with God in a religious way, but walking it with God in a spiritual way. And there is a difference, right? And if you need help getting started on your personal development journey, there is a link in my bio. Just click on that, book a time with me, and I'll give you a free chat for a couple of minutes. And if you want to connect with Kadian, she's here with us. Just go to her Instagram, and you'll be able to see her books, get them, purchase her books, support her so that she can support others, support me so that we can support others, and we can provide support all around. So thank you so much once more, Kadian, for being here with me this evening. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to help you share your story. And I look forward to the amazing things that you're going to do in this world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot.
You are
Sharing the platform with me. I really do appreciate it.
You are welcome, and I honor you for being able to share your story. Not many people have that much courage, because it does take courage. All right, everyone. Again, thank you for being here with us. I'll be here again next Thursday. So chime in and let's hear what's coming up next. Thank you again, Kadian, and we'll talk. Bye.